أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحج أشهر معلومات فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج صدق الله العظيم. My dear brothers and sisters, I have read to you a verse from the Holy Quran from chapter 2 verse 185, in which Allah Bari Ta'ala tells us about Hajj, that for Hajj the months are well known. You know the months of Hajj, and when Hajj, the season of Hajj comes along, when one undertakes Hajj, it is the duty of the Haji, the person who performs Hajj, that there is no obscenity, that he performs no obscenity, he doesn't do anything that is outward, untoward, and nor does he do anything wicked, nor does he do any wrangling during the period of Hajj. Now in the Hajj, there are certain signs of Allah Bari Ta'ala, certain duties that one has to perform, and among these duties of Hajj, one is Sa'i, that is running between Safa and Marwa. These were originally two hillocks, two small hills, and the history goes that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, the holy prophet Abraham, the father of the Jews, the Christians and the Muslims, everybody reveres this messenger of God as Father Abraham, Father Abraham, Father Abraham. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, he had two wives, Sarah and Hajara, and through a conflict that existed between these two wives of his, Allah Bari Ta'ala commanded him to take Hajara with her infant child Ismail and take him to where Makkah is today and leave mother and child. Outwardly, it was one of the most cruel of deeds that any man can do to his wife and child. A young wife and an infant child. But at the behest of Allah, he was prepared to do anything what Allah commanded him. He was prepared to carry out the commandments of Allah. So he leaves mother and child, and as time wore on, they ran short of water, and Bibi Hajara, she began searching for water, looking in this direction, looking in that direction, running up on top of Safa, looking around to see for some oasis or see some habitation, nothing to be seen. She runs down the hillock and runs up onto the opposite hillock, Marwa, and she scans around for some sign of habitation, some oasis, some habitation, some people, and she finds nothing. And she runs up and down and down and up 7 times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took such a liking to this compassion, this love that she had for her infant child, that he made it firm upon the Haji, the man who goes on pilgrimage, that he must also go through the same process of up and down 7 times. Now Allah had a purpose in this, of making us to go through that, as a discipline, as a sign, as a monument of remembering Allah. Then he made Ibrahim, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, to build the Kaaba. Hazrat Ibrahim and his son, a young man, when Ismail grew up, to say of age of discretion, about 12 years of age, him, father and son, they began raising the walls of the Kaaba. A cubicle, a square building, plain and simple building, dedicated to the worship of the one true God. We say it was the first house built on God's good earth for the worship of the one true God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he was made to shout, to give the call, for people to hearken to the call, to come along and do tawaf around this house of God, to show his love and dedication. And when the Muslim performs Hajj, he goes around the Kaaba 7 times, the tawaf 7 times, and as he walks around the Kaaba, he is made to proclaim the talbiyah, the reminder, labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, means here I am, O Lord, here I am, O Allah, here I am, labbaik, here I am, la sharika laka labbaik, you have no associates, here I am. Innal hamda, says to you is due all praise, wan ni'mata, and all beneficence, all bounties proceed from thee. Laka wal mulk, and yours is the dominion, yours is the power, yours is the rule. La sharika lak, and you have no associates. Now this is the slogan, 1400 years old. And this year, some 3 million Hajis, they went through that ritual of going around the Kaaba 7 times, making the tawaf, and repeating this formula. Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, labbaik, la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk, la sharika lak. Now, I was very fortunate this year in performing this ritual. And while going through, it struck me that this slogan, it is a slogan, talbiyah, a reminder, a slogan, that we Muslims are made to repeat year in and year out, no change. Given by our Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no change. There must be a purpose in this slogan. And I found that slogans are made to be repeated and implemented. The United Nations, they have the certain agencies. And in certain of these agencies, they work for certain projects. And they invent slogans. Like, for example, they had water year. Water year. Year of the water, for saving, conserving water. And in that water year, the slogan went out, use it, don't abuse it. Water, use it, don't abuse it. Which is really our own slogan 1400 years old also. But now the slogan part, that people from all over the world are invited and they go through this process of having themselves programmed. They imbibe themselves with these slogans and they go to their own respective countries and they propagate the slogan and the idea. Or this is the age of the child. This is the age of the child. This is an age for old aged people. So it says, your mother, an old age home is not her destination. You must look after your parents, and on and on. These are really, to me, Islamic slogans which the United Nations in some form or another, under novel names, they try to implement it. And these slogans are carried out in all parts of the world in different countries. But this slogan that we Muslims are repeating year in and year out, the most unfortunate part is this, that we have done nothing. We are doing nothing to take them back home into our own respective countries. We leave the slogan behind. No doubt we take the dates from Makkah and Medina and we buy all the trinkets from Makkah and Medina. Things are very cheap. But the main purpose of Hajj, which is to see that this slogan is implemented, to see the shirk is obliterated from the face of the earth, this, unfortunately, we Muslims have forgotten this lesson to imbibe. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of God be upon one and all. In the Holy Quran, in Surah Muhammad, I am quoting from Surah Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wa in tatawallaw yastabdil qawman ghayrakum thumma la yakunu amthalakum. This is the last segment of the last verse of Surah Muhammad, chapter 47. If you were to find this in your Holy Quran, to the Arab there is no difficulty. Most probably he knows and he can open and find it. But for the non-Arab, and more especially the non-Muslim, he will have to get a book like this. The Holy Quran, translated, an encyclopedia of some 2,000 pages, produced by the presidents of the Islamic courts and affairs in Doha, Qatar. You can obtain this from them. And at the back of this volume is an index. And in that index, if somebody told you that this is from Surah Muhammad, so you look up on the M, Muhammad, in italics, and it will tell you chapter 47. Or somebody tells you chapter 47, then it is easy to find chapter 47. And verse 38, the last verse. I have quoted to you the last segment of the last verse from this Surah Muhammad, in which Allah says, وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا, that if you turn back, O you Muslims, if you turn back, يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ, if you turn back from the duties and responsibilities which Allah Bari Ta'ala has imposed upon you for being the khayra ummatin, the best of people, if you turn back from your duties and responsibilities, he says, يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ, he will substitute in your place another people. ثُمَّ, then, لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ, then they will not be like you. And when we study history, we find that this law, an eternal law of Allah Bari Ta'ala, is working all the time. You do not carry out your duties and responsibilities, Allah replaces you with another people. And in this history, we have a classic example of the Bani Israel. Let us confess that Allah chose them. As much as we might not like it, for racial reasons, for what is happening in the Middle East, what is happening in Israel, what is happening to our brethren, we don't like it. But Allah chose them. And He sent prophets after prophets to them. Out of the 4 books that we name, that we believe in, we say the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil, and the Furqan. Out of the 4, 3 are those given to the Jews. The first one to Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, the second one to Hazrat Dawud alayhi salam, the third one to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. Torah, Zabur, Injil, Jew. Among all the prophets we name, besides our Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, almost all the other names we take, we say Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, a Jew, Hazrat Dawud alayhi salam, a Jew, Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, a Jew, Hazrat Yahya alayhi salam, a Jew, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, a Jew. Look, Allah chose them for His revelation, to become the torch bearers of light and learning to the world. But they made their religion a racial religion. They were not prepared to share with anybody. They made it a family tradition. The Deenullah, they made it a family affair. Only for Jews. So Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, a Jew among the Jews, he tells them, as recorded in the so-called Injil, because in the Christian Bible, as I said, divided into 2 portions, the Old and the New Testament. The New Testament is what they call the Gospel, the New Testament, in which we have a certain number of books, which they say the Gospel according to St. Matthew, the Gospel according to St. Mark, the Gospel according to St. Luke, the Gospel according to St. John. And they translate this word Gospel in Arabic as Injil, Injil Matthew, Injil Marcus, Injil Lucas, Injil Johanna. They keep on repeating the word Injil, 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 which may be a correct translation, but really this is not Injil. When we say Injil, we believe in the revelation that Allah Bari Ta'ala gave to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. That is Injil. Not what Matthew wrote, or what Mark wrote, or what Luke wrote, or what John wrote. These are not Injils. You can call it the so-called Injils. But the Injil is what was given to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. And Hazrat Isa alayhi salam is reported to have said to his people, the Jews, he said, and the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof. Because you are not doing the job, you have made your religion a racial religion. Allah Bari Ta'ala will take this honor, this privilege of being the khayra ummatin. They were the khayra ummatin of their time. But because they didn't do the job, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam says it will be taken away from you and given to a nation, bringing forth the fruits thereof, that's going to produce results. And this is the law of God. If you don't produce results, يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ, he says he'll substitute in your place another people. So he substituted in place of the Bani Israel, the Bani Ismail, the Arabs. And a people, they were looked down upon. And this is the law of God again. He picks up the people whom the world considers to be the most despicable, the most lowly. He takes them up from the gutter and he puts them on the top. He makes them masters of the world. He makes them rulers of the world. And he has done it again and again. He honored the Muslims. They spread out throughout the known world. They conquered North Africa. And they went to Spain. And they ruled Spain for 800 years. They had a jolly good time. Riches, opulence, buildings, amenities of life. As Allah describes, Kam taraku min jannatin wa uyun. So how many were the gardens and the fountains they left behind? Wa zu'in wa makamin kareem. And cornfields and monumental buildings. Wa ni'matin kanu fiha fakihin. And wealth and the amenities of life in which they took so much delight. كَذَلِكَ أَوْرَثْنَاهَا قَوْمًا آخَرِينَ. Thus other people were made to inherit these things. فَمَا بَقَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَا كَانُوا مُنذَرِينَ. And neither the heavens nor the earth shed a tear for them, nor was respite given to them anymore. 800 years they had a jolly good time, our ancestors in Spain. But they didn't propagate the faith. They didn't do the primary duty of the Muslim was to propagate the faith. The Deenullah, this is what Allah honored him for. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. When he made us the best of people for mankind, it was for mankind and not for the Arabs alone or the North Africans alone. But they made it also like the Jews. They made it a closed book. They were not prepared to share the deen with the Spaniards. So these drunkards, these gamblers, these pig eaters, what will they understand about Islam? So they didn't do the job. So Allah's law comes into force. سَيَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ. And they will substitute in your place another people. And they were substituted. Kicked out to a man. There was not a single Arab left. There was not a single Muslim left in that country after 800 years to give the azan. Shame on us. In Cyprus in the Mediterranean, our Turkish brethren, they ruled that country for 400 years. And in 400 years, they didn't convert 400 Greek families to Islam. Had it not been for the strong arm of Turkey protecting these Turks in Cyprus, there would not be a single Turk left on that island today. Without Turkey, no Turk on Cyprus. Wiped out to a man, not one will be left. This is Allah's law. يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ. If you are not prepared to share, this is the outcome. In India, the Muslims ruled that country for 1,000 years. But after 1,000 years of Muslim rule, eventually when partition takes place, the Muslim gets 1/4, the Hindu gets 3/4. Why? Because the Muslim didn't do the job. 1,000 years he failed to do the job. So the law of Allah comes again into force. يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ. They'll substitute in your place another people. It's a warning for us. Allah has given us a second inning in the Arab lands. He has given you a second inning. And I believe that there will not be a third inning. Either we fulfill the duties and obligations which this honor of being the khayra ummatin imposes upon us, or wait. Fatarabbasu, Allah says wait. And the people in the past, they waited for the destruction. Are we going to wait? It's left to us. يستبدل قوما غيركم ثم لا يكونوا أمثالكم. صدق الله العظيم.